Well, maybe he did do do what he experienced was, the best thing that he could do for the Cure Drive Ann Keeley by asking her to speak at that testimonial dinner. She was telling me the other night that she was there were only 3 people who spoke there. One was the mayor of Philadelphia, and her, and then somebody else I can't remember, but there was a lot of mixing. And here was Mark saying, here are my most powerful people. Senators, congressmen, talk to them, see if you can find the person. I am not the person. He might have been saying to her, I am not the person who can end HIV. I don't know. But he may not have been. We're looking for a person who can and will, so if someone is, missing one of those, they aren't. It has to be somebody who can and will. I should explain further, like why people see the thing that's obvious to anybody who looks at, let's say, a journalist who doesn't cover cure for people who are passionately interested in it, is that this journalist is not functional. He's not able to function as a journalist. This I don't know, but this is what I hear from colleagues, from people who talk about this. Most people think that all you have to do is just, tell a talk show host, there's a Cure Drive and people cure things, and you'll be on the talk show. And they're shocked to find that it isn't. But to understand why, and by the way, another thing they're shocked to find, which has the same cause, is that their spouse just does not relate to it when they do. And they're curing, and they feel wonderful, and their spouse just cannot get it, can't get interested in it, doesn't like it, is telling them, keep it away from me, whatever, And all of these things have the same root. So to talk about this, I need to go back to the benefit that Ashley is giving and Bono are giving. And we have to go back to the very beginning where Ashley says to the audience, ask this question, can I cure things, and see if you get a signal. And I don't even know if I actually said this, but the first time they do this, probably only maybe 5 to maybe 15% do it. But she asked for a show of hands, you see. And the thing is that let's say only 1% do it, no problem. There are 1,000 hands up, and people in the stadium who are not doing it, or who weren't even interested in it, or they didn't even hear what she said, or they were thinking about something else, they were talking to the person next to them, are looking around and they see 1,000 hands up. Now, 1% ain't a lot, but 1,000 is, But see, what you have to realize is when you rushed home that day after you did lesson 1, 3 days ago, to show this to your spouse, and your person who you love didn't relate to it, they just weren't one of the 99 or 85%. Probably they were one of the 85% who wouldn't, That's what probabilities are, okay? Like 85% is a bigger probability than 15%. That's what that means, But see, the thing is, of course, if your spouse was, in a room with a bunch of people and a couple of them started doing it, and he observed that, and after a while, he'd probably start doing it. Or like Kathy, you could wait 2 years till your spouse saw your son stop getting the flu, who got the flu, over and over again throughout the winter, and he just stopped getting the flu. He hadn't been sick in a year, and neither had Kathy, and you start seeing that, and you start to feel, the spouse just starts to feel grateful and eventually gets into it, her husband did get into it eventually, but years went by. See, and that's what it can be. And so we see this all the time. This is the way these classes go, and see, it may be that, Kelly told me that Mark was beaming at her. I mean, when she was talking, she was standing there and she was talking about the Cure Drive and also how much she loved him and how she wanted to get him, to start doing it. And actually he did. Like, they took a long car ride together and he started doing it. He was getting signals just fine. He's a pretty functional guy. See, also, you can't call him a chicken because he's somebody who leaped up. He got into the audience at the Dick Cavett show. He leaped to his feet and spoke out for gay rights. And Cavett loved him and had him on the show. He had him back. Keely told me this story. Hope I got it right. But anyway, he's heroic. And see, we have to when we go on our search for the person, which I have been on the search for a while, for the person who will end the HIV epidemic, we need to be prepared to have our hearts broken by seeing our heroes, and realizing that they were crippled somewhere along the line by the quarter of a century of witnessing death and destruction. And that they are just, they cannot pick up the thread. They cannot pick up the thread and pull themselves along out of the labyrinth of darkness that they're trapped in. And they can't be what we always knew they could have been. But, maybe they can be that, if we just get them in a big enough group. I mean, what would have happened if Keely had actually done what Ashley and Bono were doing in the benefit, in our imaginary benefit? Suppose she had done that at the testimonial dinner. Well, I'll tell you what I have seen. But to do this, I need to tell another little story and give another example, which will work better than either of these. Kathy went to a workshop with this guru who she loves named Stuart Wilde. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's wonderful, and she loves him. She's been studying him for years, and she's a pretty good student, Kathy is, and she gets on there, she gets the lesson pretty good. And so she came into some money and she went to a workshop that he was doing. And Kathy's a manifester, you see, one thing about her, and stood up, and he has these workshops. He's a pretty laid-back kind of guy, from what I understand, and it was the kind of place where they, she could stand up like Bill did, and say whatever she wanted. And she started talking about the Cure Drive and told everybody about it. And some people came over to her afterwards, and it had pretty much the same kind of effect that Keely had at the benefit, which was basically not much. I personally know of around 3 people who started curing things as a result of Kathy standing up and sharing, because they joined the Cure Drive, cured things, wrote in, and so on. So all of that, all of that good stuff happened. And that was about it, But let's say that went differently, and here's the example that we can use to find out, what would have happened, because I think you could see pretty clearly from this, what would have happened had Keely done the whole 9 yards and gotten, basically almost everybody starts doing it. At some point in that benefit, when Ashley says who's got a signal so far, 99,486 people raised their hand, and that's always the way it goes in groups. So let's say Kathy had done that.